Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. You were scrambling there, Bruce. Scrambling like Mikko Koskinen trying to play the puck behind his net early in the game. The first bad omen in the game when he, bobbled the puck the first two times he touched it. Bruce, the Oilers are out. The Oilers are out. The Oilers are out. I'm just. That was one of the, if not the, it was one of the. There's been other really disappointing playoff series for the Edmonton Oilers. That's really high on the list.
I have a list, but this one's way up there.
It's really high on the list because I just think, Bruce, they gave this series away in so many different ways. They were outworked, they were out-defensed, they were out-goaltended, and Bruce, man, oh man, were they ever out-coached. And I say this, you and I and most Oiler fans, Dave Tippett got high praise all year long from us and others. He got almost everything right all year long, including halfway through the year, taking a team that might look like it might not make the playoffs and concocting the dynamite line of Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Kailer Yamamoto, which turned into the most exciting and most effective line in the entire NHL in 2020, in the new year. He came up with his unstoppable force, Tippett did, and then he just frickin' squandered it in the playoffs by not playing. He stopped it himself without making the Blackhawks do it. And I think it's as close to unforgivable a mistake from a coach as I can think of, honestly, where you are shooting your own team in the foot like that. I have been incensed about it, quietly, not happy about it. And today I was just
game one.
Yeah. Since I heard about it, since the first practice when I heard they were split apart.
Yes, that's who you were.
And I just thought, like today, I thought, okay, there's no way they're going to play a fantasy with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. That line just did not work at all. But there they were at the start of the game. Anyway, we're going to do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Our final one, and for months now, we've waited months to do one, and this is our final one for months in terms of the Oilers game, at least. Maybe we'll become Flames fans here, Bruce, or something like that. Anyway, we'll think about that another day. I might kind of loosen up as I get older, and I'm more willing to try new things. And that would be definitely a new thing for me, would be cheering for the Flames or the Leafs.
I cheered for the Flames against the Canucks in 2004.
Well, there you go. I've never done it.
I really hated that Canucks team. I mean,
yeah. Well, they had
positive. I was rooting for the Flames against them.
Yeah. So, Bruce, let's start off with our good things. What was your good thing this game?
Oh boy, I'm going to go with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who peppered Corey Crawford with 9 shots on net. He actually scored the tying goal early in the second period, 2-2. And believe it or not, that would be the last goal the Oilers would score, despite the team peppering Crawford with 35 shots over those final 2 periods. They were unable to get another one past him. As Chris Cuthbert's line of the night, which I heard several times, was, "How did that not go in?"
Yes.
How many times did he say that? 4?
Oh, it was painful. We just couldn't get a bounce either, like, honestly.
Couldn't get one past him. Nuge got one past him on kind of a junk play where the puck was kind of bouncing around like a ping pong ball, and it happened to settle down a place where Nuge could tap it in. But he had many dangerous shots in the game. And he just was unable to get the second tying goal, just like the rest of his teammates were. But I thought he was a strong performer, and he was one of the ones that was really bringing it down the stretch as the team tried to tie it up in the last 11 minutes of play, but couldn't get her done.
Yeah, they finally looked like a playoff team in those final 11 minutes of the game, Bruce, finally. They did get 16 grade A chances to 12 for the Hawks. All they outchanced the grade A chances were in the Oilers' favor all season, all series long. But goaltending was a big factor in the end, and Koskinen this isn't a bad thing for either of us, but let's just talk about it for a second. That last goal, the winning goal from Chicago, what did you make of that?
I thought it had to be stopped. If you're talking about it from the goalie's perspective,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it had to be stopped. I mean, it was a one-timer from close range, but you got to seal off that short side post. I mean, that's absolutely fundamental to goaltending. And I mean, he found a little, it kind of even tickled his sleeve of his shirt on the way by, but he left a little hole there, and sniper hit the hole, which is more than any of our snipers were able to do. And I just thought it wasn't perfect positioning by Koskinen, and it was a game where, the guy at the other end was playing lights out. You got to match him. You got to match him. You don't match him save for save. I mean, he had 19 shots to 8 in the third period, and they got one, and the Oilers got none. So it's, the my worry this morning. I thought, you know what, Corey Crawford hasn't stolen a game yet in this series, and it's only going to take one now, and it's over. And that's
That's what
unfortunately
happened.
what came to pass. Crawford was, the good thing in this game was Corey Crawford. He was outstanding.
He really was, and I had the same thought. I was thinking, it started off with me thinking, okay, could Smith or Koskinen steal a game? Like I was pondering that last night, and because an
Never.
ESPN writer had identified the Oilers goaltending as the worst thing about the Oilers in this series, and I think it's on the list. But there's many worse things about the Oilers in this series. And I was thinking, oh, could Koskinen or Smith steal one? And thinking, maybe they did so. But then I popped in my head, no, but Crawford, he could steal one. And Patrick Kane, I thought we haven't seen the best of Patrick Kane yet.
Never did,
And
really.
well, I thought he was actually pretty good
He
today.
was,
Like,
yeah, like he never dominated and took over a game. Let's put
yeah,
it that way.
he didn't
But
score a lot, did he? But he was good today. Bruce, my good thing will be Connor McDavid. I just thought he played his heart out this
hmm
game, and he had 2 assists, including an absolutely spectacular play on the overall play between him and Archibald was fantastic. Archibald was really smart on the play because he's looking for McDavid and he rimmed the puck. He's his head's up. He's a smart hockey player, and in the offensive end, he rimmed it around the boards to McDavid, just the guy you want to have the puck. And immediately, every Chicago player eyes on McDavid, and Archibald sneaks into the slot and one times the puck in. That was just a fantastic play by McDavid. In the end, Bruce, he was in. He made contributions to 9 of Edmonton's 16 grade A chances. 9 of Edmonton's 16 grade A chances. He was really going this game, every shift, and I don't think you can say that about every Oiler player. There was I could say it about James Neal and about Nuge and Chase on and Chris Russell's always going. I thought Matt Benning was going, but there just was so many players who were not sharp, and we're going to get into who they were in a moment. But there's such a lack of sharpness from about half the team. There was a kind of a dichotomy on the team where about half the team was really into it all game and much of the series, and the other half was kind of, I don't know, dogging it. I don't know, not dogging it. They weren't. They were just out of
they
sync.
weren't clicking.
They weren't clicking, and maybe some of it had to do with the lines. Okay, Bruce, let's go to your bad thing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to single out Coach Dave Tippett. He was the second best coach in the series, and it wasn't particularly close, unfortunately. And I put something out there on Twitter after the game to that end, pointing fingers like I always do. And I got some interesting response. Well, you know me. I got some interesting responses from fans that I'll share with a couple of them with you here. Uh, uh, One guy, well, I'll tell you. What I said was Dave Tippett was already in the NHL the day Jeremy Colton was born, but you'd never know it based on what we've seen in the past week. Not something I would have predicted. And the replies that I got from uh, Tippett got completely outcoached, plain and simple, no adjustments in the refusal to put the top line together. That's from my friend Crazy Coach 21, Ben Berland. That's written for us at the Cult of Hockey a few times. Uh, Marcus Miller, outcoached beyond belief, decimating point shots, Swiss cheese defensive coverage, a PP that got worse as the series went on. It was so painful to be an Oilers fan. Here, here. Uh, this is one that's on my, uh, this one feels like I feel. 100%. Completely outcoached. It's like the Hawks had months to prepare for one team, and the Oilers didn't have a clue who they'd be playing. No specific game plan or adjustments. So I'm sure that's not entirely true, but by the effect of what we saw, there's a lot of truth in it.
Well, they made one adjustment, and like one big lineup adjustment was putting Archibald onto McDavid's line, right? And it wasn't much of one. Like it helped, but it was always a stopgap. And I mean, he did score a very nice goal tonight, so I'll give him
Yep.
that. Like Cassian would do the same now and then with McDavid. So,
Not this
but
series, he sure didn't.
but yeah, I my tweet on him was lots of coaching mistakes in NHL history, but Dave Tippett breaking up the NHL's best line of Draisaitl, RNH, Yamamoto in this series is on the list. Hard to accept. Tippett got almost everything right all year, only to blow crucial playoff call.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a strange one because that line really was dominant for from January 1st to the end of the season. They were, the very best line or for that stretch of time, and on the short list with the perfection line and so on of being major outscorers, and it was for whatever reason. I mean, Nuge was dangerous. He would be dangerous with whoever, but I think the move of them took a little bit Draisaitl and a whole lot Yamamoto right out of the series.
There's such
And
chemistry, Bruce, between
yeah,
those
I
guys. I mean,
know,
they
I
just
know.
the second they get out there, they see the game the same way. They worked like Nuge works okay with McDavid. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he is so much better with all three of those players are great players, but they are the sum of their parts is greater when they're together, which is saying a ton. And in the second they were out there, they finally put them together with 7 minutes left. And
Bang
with
bang
2 minutes left, they
chances.
got the two of their best chances in the game, Nuge in the slot and Draisaitl on a 2-on-1. And it's not a coincidence that would have
Mhm.
happened all series long. I mean, it was almost like Draisaitl played the series under protest that RNH
No, I
wasn't
don't know
on his
about
line.
that.
Such was the kind of sloppy nature of his play. I mean, for the NHL's probable MVP, he had a weak series, Bruce. I thought, and that's my bad thing is him and Nurse in this game. I just thought two big players, big leaders on this team, and I didn't see that in this game. I didn't see Draisaitl stepping up in a big physical way. I mean, I think that Athanasio is just such a terrible fit on that line. Honestly, just doesn't work. He doesn't see the game at all or play the game at all like those two other guys. He's a straight up and down winger with a lot of speed, who probably should be on the third line, as the offensive catalyst on that line. He does well there, but he just is totally, right off the top there was a 2-on-1 with Athanasiou and Draisaitl, and you just knew Athanasiou, who should have shot. He didn't really have a pass, but of course
Right.
he's going to try to pass to Leon, right?
Hmm.
Because he feels he defers to Draisaitl too much when he's out there, and the puck gets picked off by the Chicago defender, and it's not like Athanasiou didn't have his good moments in the game,
He
and he's
came
not a
on
decent
in the
player.
third period. He came
He
on in the
did.
third period, and but the first two periods he was highly ineffectual.
What about Nurse, Bruce? Like, he's my bad thing, but he just seemed to be out of sorts, bobbling the puck. He just making the wrong decision every time he had the puck. I mean, I usually don't see the game through the goggles. Like, there's the whole they don't like Darnell Nurse's game faction, and I usually don't see his game through that lens. But tonight I couldn't help it. It just seemed like, what are you doing out there? You know, you're not making every play you're making just seems to be the wrong move in the wrong direction this game. And maybe I don't know.
Yeah, well, I hated his game in Game Three. Tonight, at least, I thought he was being at least proactive again. I mean, in Game Three, he was laying down on the ice and trying to go down to the 3-point stance all the time and stuff. And he was part of the big part of when the Oilers sort of tried to sit on the lead in the third period rather than attack like they did when the one game they successfully did protect the lead and win. And I thought he was one of the major culprits. And that was a game where I mentioned in our numbers section how he had zero shot attempts and zero hits in the entire game. Well, tonight he had 9 shot attempts and 2 hits, and was at least involved in the play.
How many were
Near
on net?
3 were on net, 4 were blocked, 2 missed the net.
He missed the
And
net in the final seconds there, which I thought kind of
oh,
summed up
that
his
would have
game.
been yeah. He made a great play to keep it in at the blue line, and then unfortunately, the shot went wide. It would have been um, a miracle thing. And anyway, my bad thing, I don't know if this is on the coach or who it's on, but if you can't make a simple goalie pull with the season on the line, if you can't execute a bloody goalie pull, then I guess you deserve what you get. I mean, holy crap, David.
Yeah, that was, and then Russell
Tr-
on the ice. Have we mentioned
Yeah,
that at the
well,
end of
yeah,
the game?
last minute of the game, and they got Draisaitl on the bench, and Chris Russell was the defenseman on the ice, in the, like last 30 seconds of play, trying to make plays in the other team's end. Like, really, he's the best choice?
You need a goal. Put out four forwards, or put out Clefbaum,
Of
or put
five.
out put out Caleb
Oh yeah, yeah,
Jones. Caleb Jones should have been
yeah.
on the ice. I mean,
That was 5-on-5, wasn't it? Because of the
yeah.
penalty.
Well, once they pulled the goalie, it was 5-on-5. But
Right.
get Caleb Jones out
Let's
there
say,
to kill the penalty. Just even to kill the penalty, get him out there because
uh,
you need players. Get out your fastest attacking player so you can try to put pressure on right from the start, early in that penalty to pull the goalie. And you don't have Russell on the ice, period, at all in that entire sequence. And so what are you
the
thinking in
whole
that
the
moment?
whole sequence. Like I haven't gone back and watched it again, so this is all from memory. But that whole sequence, like there's 2:03 to go, and they got the stupid penalty that kills them to begin with. But there's still 2:03 to left, right? There's time for desperation time. There's time to, if you can get the puck into their end, you can pull the goalie and get back to 5-on-5. Well, Oilers don't call a timeout, as I recall. Go into the penalty kill with no plan. Let Chicago keep the puck around the outside for 45 or 50 seconds before they even begin to pressure for the puck. Then they finally get it. And first of all, they get into Chicago's end, and Koskinen stays in the net. Like there's no plan. And then the Chicago gets it back in, and the Oilers win possession again, still 4-on-5. And I think it was Chris Russell dumps it out to center, back on a Chicago stick. Like you're killing a penalty, you're allowed to ice it, and storm the boards and get your bloody goalie on the bench. Like have an idea of how the hell you're going to perform in an emergency situation, and it was just not there. And it was really only with 20 seconds left, maybe, that they finally got a hold of the puck, and Chicago went 5-on-5 and had a couple of sort of looks, but it was like there was no plan.
There was no plan. This series was interesting. Like we've been complaining for a long time about the lack of offensive capability from the defensive end, like from the D men on the Oilers, and they really had an inability to get pucks on net, that entire crew. And finally, in this last game, Clefbaum got a few on net. But man, they've got to get more D men, and Jones is good at this. So I can't wait to see Evan Bouchard in the lineup next year, Bruce. They've got to find a way to. They got to clear out some players and get Evan Bouchard in the lineup to get at least one more attacking D man. I don't believe Broberg's going to be ready, but
No.
Bouchard. Will make a big difference. If Jones and Bouchard are regularly playing on your defensive unit, you're going to improve the puck moving and attacking from the defensive ends considerably, and that's what they need to do for this coming year. But anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. What's your number?
My number is 12.5%.
Enough said.
That's where the Oilers sit. For Mondays, it'll be over quickly, mercifully enough. And they probably, they don't deserve it. And there's only a 1 in 8 chance. But that's where we are, David. We managed to fall into the draft lottery from friggin' second place in the Pacific. Here we are in the draft lottery. And I'm still pissed at the NHL's way that they decided to restart the play. I really, that's. I mean, the bottom line, people are going to say, well, the Oilers couldn't even beat the Hawks, so who cares? And they're right. And that's the most frustrating thing of all. But it's finding a way to take a team from home ice position to having to play in the play-in series was exasperating as hell, and the worst possible outcome has come. Here's my other number, 4. 4 months we waited to see 4 games, and now we got to wait 4 more months. It's like having 2 off seasons in a row. I mean, it's frustrating as hell. It's been like the last 4 months writing about a team without playing any games. Well, guess what? We're going to do it for the next 4 months too. And I'm pretty choked, got to say. That's a very, very disappointing outcome. And I'm pissed at the NHL, but mostly, I mean, they just didn't get it done, David. They
They
didn't
did
have,
not.
they have one game to prepare, whereas, teams like Dallas, third place Dallas, they've been floating around losing games in the round robin game. It doesn't matter. They're through into the play-ins because they were third in their division or something.
Bruce,
They
my
just,
number is 0
hmm That's a good number.
number of hits from Zach Cassian in this game. Yeah. And I'm hesitant to blame Cassian too much. Like, he was not used that much and
Well,
didn't
there's
get
a
a lot of
reason he
ice.
wasn't used that much.
Yeah,
He wasn't doing anything.
wasn't
You
doing
know, it's
anything. And anyway, 0 hits for Zach Cassian. And this isn't what was envisioned. And wow, what a disappointing way to end the year, Bruce. I thought the Oilers could go far in this year's playoffs, and they've got a good team. I think I overestimated their defensive
I
group.
sure did.
And
Chicago's defense badly outplayed Edmonton's.
yeah, I
It
think
never gets done.
and we knew the goaltending was going to be dicey, right? That was always going to be the dicey thing. And the Oilers goalies, you know, maybe Koskinen in game 2 when the game they won, and he was okay. But other than that, like, they were out goaltended this series, even though Crawford wasn't particularly good in the first 3 games. But I'm just wandering and lost.
Well, talk about Zach Cassian. I mean, here's a question we can ask about Ken Holland, since we've been pointing fingers at Dave Tippett throughout this podcast. Ken Holland signed Zach Cassian to a 4-year extension in January while he was under suspension. And Zach Cassian, unlike 2017, where he went into the playoffs without a contract, with an expiring contract and everything to play for to prove that he belonged and deserved an extension, this time around, I don't know what we got, but we sure didn't get the hungry version of Zach Cassian. He just didn't have any edge. He did, he just, I don't know if he was out of shape when he came to camp. I don't know what's going on there, and I don't even want to speculate. All I know is what I saw on the ice was nothing close to the player that he can be. And the Oilers needed him. And he wasn't there. And guess what? He's on the payroll for 4 years for a nice inflated salary. And, if he's not going to show up for the big games, what's the point?
If he hadn't signed Cassian, then what would Cassian get right now in a contract? Would he be a UFA this summer?
He would have been a UFA. That's why they signed him, because his contract was coming due. But whatever reason, Holland decided he needed to get it done. Remember, Cassian got suspended for pounding on Tkachuk. Took a penalty that cost the Oilers a game in Calgary in doing it, but he did pound on Tkachuk. And there was so much love swelling for Cassian that it seemed like his value was going up by the day. And Holland chose that time to sign him. And that contract hasn't even started yet. And it already looms as one of those ones that we're going to be saying, how many more years left on that one? Anyway, he's going to need to buck up and come to next season a lot more prepared than he was for this admittedly off-the-wall oddball format. And I think a lot of the players just never found their rhythm. And to some degree, we can blame COVID for that. This is a weird, bizarre, totally difficult situation for everyone. Koskinen,
Smith, Nurse, Draisaitl, Clefbaum, until I thought he was pretty good tonight. Clefbaum, Sheahan, Cassian. Just, it's a fairly long list of players that Yamamoto, which just
Yamamoto did nothing. He got no points and he took a bunch of penalties.
Brings me back to my bitterness about the Dynamite line. So we've gone full circle here.
I'm a bitter man myself tonight. I'm angry and upset, disappointed. And the hockey gods, the NHL, my team, everybody's let me down. It feels like, and the playoffs are coming. They're going to play the whole playoffs right through to the Stanley Cup, all in Edmonton. None of us is going to get to see any of the games except on TV. And it's, I'm sure I'll get back into watching the playoffs like I have every year for 57 years, except 2005, Gary. And that day will come. But right now, I'm feeling pretty disillusioned about it all. Can't lie.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Bruce, it was overall, aside from this really quite bitter ending, it was a good season for the Oilers. We'll have plenty to say about it and about this playoff series in the months to come. And we'll be following the playoffs for the rest of the NHL. And I'm going to be rooting for whichever Canadian team is there, including for the first time in my life for the Calgary Flames, if I can stomach it. All right. Thanks for talking,
Oh,
Bruce.
Toronto, they're still playing as we speak. They were down 3-0, pulled their goalie and scored three with the goalie on the bench. Whereas Edmonton couldn't even pull their goalie right.
Goalies go.
We only needed one.
All righty. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.
Another malfunction.